It's Tobin, and I'm here with a special edition solo edition of Book of Experts TV. Today, we're going to talk about goal getting versus gain shifting. Yeah, what does that even mean? Well, this thing I think you'd agree with me that goal getting is better than goal setting. Let's actually talk about this gain shifting in just a moment.
Time for Book of Experts TV.
Topics you love.
Experts you trust.
Friction-free referrals.
Tried,
tested,
Trusted.
This is Book of Experts, brought to you by salesman.me.
All right, so this is like a part 2 of an earlier episode that I did a few weeks ago, something that I've been reading about, thinking about, and actually doing myself, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Now, you guys know that with Book of Experts TV, normally I have guests on with me, and that's way more interesting because I get to ask questions, you get to hear their answers. Today it's just me, but I'm going to talk about a tool, a less than $10 tool that will double your chances, your odds of finding success. Whatever those goals are that you're setting for yourself, you can double the odds of achieving that success with less than a $10 tool. Now, that was the topic for the earlier podcast. Today, we're going to build on that idea, and it works like this. The $10 tool, the punchline of this is it's a stack of papers, right? A ream of papers, because basically, if you go out and buy 250 sheets, 500 sheets of paper, it's going to be less than $10. You can get a couple reams, I think, for like $5 or $6. And each day, you're going to take a blank sheet of paper like this, and you're actually going to write down your goals, but in a specific form. All the research has shown that when you write your goals down, not just once, but you do it consistently, you revisit them, you are programming your mind to achieve those goals. Like it just becomes part of what you do. What you manage, what you measure, you are able to manage, and you're actually to create that momentum and achieve those goals, get the goals that you've set for yourself. The problem is that sometimes we get a little bit discouraged when we don't hit our goals. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have. You set a goal for yourself, you come up short, and that can actually deflate you and in some ways work against you. There's another problem in the folks out there that work in the area of mindset or law of attraction. We'll talk about this as well, which is we are never at our best. We can never fully be who we are when we're coming from a place of scarcity, when we want something that we don't have. That is scarcity. That's a feeling of lack. So how do you counteract that lack, that scarcity, so that you have an abundance mindset, so that you can create the abundance that you want, right? It's like chicken or the egg, which comes first, or putting the cart before the horse. That's the challenge. But I'm going to show you a fun little sort of hack that I've been using myself. Now, the first thing that I want to do is do a quick review of what I showed you last time, of how to take your goals, put them in writing in a fun, easy way that you can do 10 minutes or less each day, just as a way to sort of set the tone, set your thermostat for where you want it to be. And it works like this. We take a sheet of paper. Again, this is our, a pencil and a stack of papers. That's the tool we're talking about here. And as I showed you before, we're actually going to fold that sheet of paper in half, just like this. And we'll crease it so we have a nice fold. So now we've got half, two sides, and we're going to fold it one more time. And you'll see why we're doing this in just a moment, because just by folding the paper, it's like a little ritual that I've created for myself. By folding the paper, now when I open it back up, I have a nice, I have quadrants, right? The 4 parts of one sheet of paper. And that's actually going to be part of what I'm going to show you in a moment, because I'm going to take each of those 4 boxes and I'm going to use each of the boxes for goals that I'm setting. And I'm going to use the goal, and I'm going to use a period of time, and I'm going to use a specific formula. So let's look at what this, again, I'm going to do a quick refresh on what we talked about in the earlier episode. So on the screen, I put up a white graphic with a line down the middle and a line through, to make that cross, just like I showed you with the folded paper. And in the first box, I did this the order I don't think matters as much. But in the first box, in the lower right-hand corner, I put N7 in that box. That means for the next 7 days, I'm going to put my goals for the next 7 days. What do I want to accomplish in this next week in that box? Again, I'm going to show you a specific formula for these goals. So it's not just making a list of goals and then, again, you've got 5 goals there and you don't achieve any of them or you only achieve one. That's not what we're doing here. The formula will explain itself in just a moment. But I want to explain the 4 boxes first. So we do the next 7 days and then we jump to the next 30 days. And this is a lot of people find this really helpful because maybe I can't achieve or finish or complete a project this week, but I know in this coming month and 30 days, if I really focus, I could build that new webinar, I could build that new funnel, I could create that new list of people. So 30 days is a really nice target date to get some big things done. The upper right-hand box, I have N90, which is the next 90, or basically the next season. That would carry us right through to the holiday season, basically. So right now we're talking at the end of September. So the next 90 days, that again is a very actionable period of time. And then we've intentionally skipped over. This is one way that this process is very different from a lot of other goal setting, goal getting steps or programs that you might see. We've completely skipped over the 1 year, like what are your annual goals? We're not trying to do that. We've jumped to 3Y, which is 3 years from now. We didn't do 1 year, we didn't do 2 years. We're intentionally stretching the timeline out because, again, the psychology, the research shows that people overestimate what they can accomplish in the coming year, and they underestimate what they could actually accomplish in 2 to 3 years. So we're going 3 years out to set some big, hairy goals, big, hairy, audacious goals, what they call the BAG, the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals 3 years from now, because you actually have a pretty good shot of achieving some of those if you stay consistent. What happens is people set an annual goal, they fall short, and then they kind of drop the goals or they reset goals or they lose themselves in the process. But if you can stay consistently moving up the mountain one step at a time, 3 years out, you will be amazed at what you can accomplish. Okay, so I'm going to walk through these for a moment. You can see, N70 next 7 days, N30 and 90 3 years. That's the breakdown. The next thing that we're going to look at. Oops, we've got a little issue here. Let's see if there we go. Sorry, jumped ahead. So the next thing is, I told you I'd give you the formula, but in each of the 4 quadrants, we're going to put a B, a D, and an H. And that stands for who are you going to be, what are you going to be doing, and what do you hope to have? Now, from a goal setting perspective, it's the H that probably is going to make the most sense. Like if you have a monetary goal, an income that you want to reach, or a number of clients, that is your have goal. That is the thing that you're hoping to acquire and create. This is traditionally where people focus in on their goals. And you don't need to hit all of them. We're not trying to create a list of all 20 goals that you hope to get in the next 7 days or any. We don't want this to be overwhelming. But can you name one goal that you hope to have completed? You actually hope to have that done, that you have that feeling, again, the abundant feeling of it's done. What is that goal that you hope to have in 7 days and 30 days, 90 days, and then 3 years from now? More important is, what are you actually going to do? What are the action? Can you name one action step that will move you forward towards this goal? And then who do you have to be as a person? What is the identity shift that you're going to make to actually help you achieve these goals? So it trickles down from identity to the actions that you're going to take to the goals that you're actually going to get out of doing this. Be, do, have. Now, none of this is new, by the way. Like I picked this up in different places, this process. I actually don't remember who or where I saw the folded paper process. I just kind of like it because it's very light, something that I can do in 5 or 10 minutes, and it's a great way to sort of reset myself. Do it in the morning to sort of set the tone for your day. And then the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can actually wrap it up in the evening. So be, do, have, you're going to do that in each of, now I'm showing a graphic where be, do, have in each of the 4 quadrants, and you're just going to write a phrase or a sentence or maybe just some notes under each one. Again, you're not trying to cover everything. You're just capturing that feeling that you might feel with each of these. Now, here's the really interesting thing. If you get to the end of your day and you might possibly feel, and I don't know if this is true for you or not, but you might possibly feel a little bit beaten up by the end of the day. Like, man, this was a hard day. Like, I had some hard conversations. This didn't go well. This work. If you get to the end of the day, yes, it's important to really focus in on those goals. Like, again, we're sort of setting that tone, setting the thermostat in our subconscious mind that this is what we're going after. But here's a really interesting thing. A lot of times, the psychology, again, of thinking scarcity versus abundance, when we're thinking about goals, it's something out in the future. We don't have it today. And so we start to program ourselves for scarcity thinking. We're not programming ourselves for the abundant thinking. It's a great exercise in the morning to say, this is where I'm going. I'm very focused and I'm going to get there. But at the end of the day, what I've actually learned, a better process at the end of the day is to be retrospective and to, instead of focus on the goal getting, to actually shift into the gain, focusing on the gain of what you've accomplished, because that's how you can actually build momentum, programming your subconscious mind so that you sleep on it. It's all that's percolating when your eyes are closed and your body's resting and we're off in la la land somewhere. Your subconscious mind hasn't stopped. It's still making your body the heart's still beating, your lungs are still breathing, like your whole subconscious body, unconscious body is still operating. And this is a way to set that tone in the evening so that you can turn around in the morning and get focused on your goals again. So let's go back to the screen share for a second, because I want to show you this next step where we take this next 7, next 30, next 90. Again, it's got its purpose, but now we're going to take it into, there we go. Let me go back one. So now we're going to take it into, I've notated on the sheet, we take the same sheet of paper, we're going to flip it over to the other side, and we're going to write the last 30 days, right? L30 in one quadrant. And then in the next quadrant, we'll do L90, the last 90. Then we do the last 3 years, and then the last 7 years. For those of you keeping score at home, you'll notice I didn't do the last 7. You can do the last week if you want, if that feels good. I actually found that this format was working better for me, because when I look at, even in the last 30 days, it's like, wow, we actually covered a lot of ground in 30 days, like way more than what I thought we were going to be able to do. In 90 days, holy cow, do you remember what the world was doing 90 days ago? Right? We're still in this COVID chapter of our lives, but wow, I mean, things have really been shifting around and people adjusting. Like, I just think back to where we were in the spring or even in March. Like, man, the world has just been, what a wild ride it's been. So the other 2 quadrants are the last 3 years. Like, where were you 3 years ago? Stop for a moment and do the math. So this is 2020, right? 3 years ago, what were you doing? What were you trying to accomplish? And then 7 years ago, and this is the big jump. It could be 7, it could be 10 years, but literally take that big jump back, because you are a different person today than you were 7 or 10 years ago. Like, literally, you have created a whole new identity. You think about things differently. You've been exposed to new ideas and new people. Your identity has shifted. You are like a whole new person. What would you even say to that version of you 7 or 10 years ago, right? That's how different it is. Like, you could sit down and have a conversation. It's like 2 different people. So we're going to do the same be, do, have, but now it's from a place of abundance. What do you actually have from the last 30 days that you've accomplished? What did you actually do in the last 30 days? And who were you, and how did you show up with your family, with your work, with your friends? Like, how did you show up? Who were you as a person? And then go into the next quadrant and think and talk about that from a 90-day perspective. What did you accomplish in the last 90 days? 3 years ago, what were you being? Who were you being? What were you doing? What were you having? Like, what have you accomplished in the last 3 years? Because the whole idea here is we've made a big shift in our psychology. We've gone from, oh, here's a goal and I hope I accomplish this, to holy cow, like I was feeling kind of bad because I wasn't accomplishing this goal. And then I started looking at where I've come in the last 3 years, the last 7 years, right? It is amazing when you can make that kind of journey. So again, this is simple as I call it a less than $10 tool, which is a pen, pencil, whatever you prefer to write with, a sheet of paper, fold it into 4 quadrants. You can use both sides if you want to save the trees. But by just taking a little bit of time for yourself and grounding yourself in not only where you want to go, but how far you've come, you can make that shift from goal setting to goal getting by giving a little bit more attention and shifting your focus to the gain that you've accomplished. This was a special episode of Book of Experts TV. You guys don't hear from me solo very often, but I wanted to share it today because I thought it would be interesting. Some of you out there would appreciate this, and I'll see you in our next episode.